Now, Generation Z or Z, more like Generation Snowflake, it appears, because there's been a rise. You know, I'm coming at this. This script's written in a way that you're very anti this, and I wouldn't necessarily be anti this because I do think. You know, I look at your two children who are, what, 8 and 5. And if there was a concern, there would be a concern. There's no point trying to pretend there's not, and there's no point trying to pretend the way we did it was the right thing. But this is all about their mental well-being. And the more, you know, the more I live life, the more I come across people who are affected by things that were said to them when they were young. And things and anxiousness that they picked up when they were young. So I think this is something to support, and it seems that 1 in 3 parents, 30% or 33%, support their children in if they don't feel like school, maybe they shouldn't go.
So are we raising lily-livered children, or is it time to get these kids back into the classroom? Joining us to debate this are 2 mothers and 2 self-professed parenting experts, SJ Strum and Roma Norris. Good morning to you both. SJ, can I start with you? You would say that actually we need to listen to our children, accept that the world has changed, and you know, if they have concerns, they should be the parents' concerns as well.
I do, and I think that the communication between schools has become really difficult with parents and schools. Reading the report, it's really sad that up to 40% of parents actually are saying they don't feel their children's needs are met by the time they get to secondary school. And looking at the reason for those absences, a huge amount of it is, like Eamon said, about mental health, anxiety, and parents feeling that their children's needs aren't met at school. That is a parent's job, but also the second part of it is communication, and feeling that we're not getting any communication from schools of how they're supporting our children academically, individual reports, getting 5 minutes a term with their teachers, and knowing that we're putting our kids in their safe hands. Are our children going to thrive in that environment? So there really is this breakdown in how parents are parenting at home, and schools becoming more authoritarian with things like isolation rooms, things like locking the toilets so children can't go in them. And it feels to parents like it's not doing the best for our generation of teens.
Okay, now, SJ, what would you think about what you're hearing?
That was SJ.
That was SJ. That's where I'm going wrong. So I've just got this labelled wrongly. So that's Roma. What do you think about what you're hearing?
Yeah, so, I mean, we all know that a lot of what goes on in school is a load of nonsense. And, of course, you know, parents are reacting to that. And at the same time, I think it's really important that our children are able to do things that they find hard. This is what builds resilience. When children don't have limits, it actually feels very unsafe to them. And it also means that they're missing out on the opportunity to stretch their capacity and also build their self-esteem by doing things that are hard. So while I agree that, you know, school isn't necessarily optimum a lot of the time, there is a benefit to actually just having to do hard things sometimes.
Okay, I think that's a very, very interesting point, put very well by Roma there, SJ. What do you think?
I agree. I think if we're opting into the school system, I think a lot of parents these days are hoping that school can fix all these problems. Like, we're so worried about our children's mental health. We're so worried about school being a safe environment for our children, but we're putting all that pressure on schools in a way, and we're not communicating with schools. You know, I'm on my school friends committee, and it's really hard to get parents to show up to have those conversations with schools, and that's us showing up and showing our children. You know, if we show up and if we make the changes and if we have the discussions about what we want to see change, maybe we'll see it happen. I think that's what's really good about what the Centre for Social Justice are recommending, which is this parental participation strategy. I think will really, really help, and it will close that gap. You know, there is this huge trust gap that's happened after the pandemic. The parents are saying, we don't really trust schools anymore. Is it really necessary? Do they have to go every single day? And that will, you know, that will affect their education. So we need to close the gap somehow, and I think that communication is really important. And teaching our children, yes, you do have to be resilient, but with mental health, we know that resilience does also come from taking a break. And I will give my kids a mental health day if their anxiety is really high.
Okay, but what about
really
yourself,
stressed.
SJ?
It's important to me is recognising that.
When you were young, SJ, what would it have taken for you to get a day off school?
Not much.
Not
Some
much.
days.
Not much. Okay. And what about you, Roma?
Overwhelmed and stressed.
What about you, Roma?
I actually did spend quite a lot of time off school. I was really miserable at school, and I feel like it actually made things harder in a lot of ways because I was always behind with schoolwork. I missed out socially. There was a real gap. And
so rather than confronting the problem, you opted out, which didn't make the problem go away.
That's right. There is an unmet need here. And I don't think just keeping kids off school addresses that underlying need. I regularly work with parents to get children back into school when they're school refusing, kids as young as 5 even. And actually, we're being a bit more strategic. I think a lot of what's happened since the pandemic is that child and adolescents' mental health has plummeted. And many kids, don't want to leave their rooms, and parents don't have the tools to respond to that. So I think it's a little bit more nuanced than just keeping them off school.
Well, guys, thank you both very, very much.